Today's story is Deep in the Ozarks, the first story submitted to my subreddit by HEDPE22. My brother, Jasper, and I would go visit Uncle Jack out in the deep woods. It would seem like it would take hours to get up there, but really it only took 3 hours. When we got there, I would go exploring back behind my Uncle Jack's house. We were told that if we went back to those woods, to bring a small firearm with us, because we might see some bears out and about, or a mountain lion. We would venture back there to our little fort we had made a few years back. There were still some spots to patch up on the roof, but other than that, it was still the same as we had left it. There were some old car posters and $50 left in the Fix Me can. We spent countless hours up there. I remember looking out the window one night and seeing these red eyes. They made me shiver. I felt as if they were looking directly into my soul, reading into my anxiety and fear. But in typical Jasper fashion, my brother would just chalk it off as some old wolf or something. Well, it was time for some much-needed rest and relaxation away from it all. So we're headed out into the old deep woods again. Yeah, it was sort of a journey, but it was worth it every single time. Finally, we arrived and went straight into the woods for a hike. Thankfully, unlike Jasper, I came prepared. I had some trail mix bars and a gallon of water, so I wouldn't be too tired during the hike. It could get pretty tricky on the hills in the area with the many switchbacks present there. We came back later that evening and had dinner with my family. My uncle would tell us one of his tall, off-the-wall tales. My dad would say it would always be about that half-human flying creature. He said he had saw it one time while he was back behind his property cutting some wood with his chainsaw. Uncle Jack says it cut out on him all of a sudden, and he was about to crank it back up, but something had startled him. He says he saw the half-human flying creature with blood-red eyes. Uncle Jack said they locked eyes for a second, and he saw something so bad that it shook him to his very core. He couldn't even begin to describe that harrowing experience. Uncle Jack says it still gives him nightmares. Me and my brother think that he is cuckoo. You know, not right in the head. He's telling us the story again and says, "Fine, you kids don't believe me, just wait. Maybe you'll see it this summer." And we say, "Okay, Uncle Jack," with a kind of tremble to our voice. Later in the evening, my brother and I are playing video games. I'm getting bored, so I take a little break and doze off in the recliner chair. The next day, we go into town for a few things to fix up our little fort. All it needs now is a few boards and some screws, really. It takes a while to get 2 items because Jasper is always checking out the plants or the latest gizmos and tools they have at Bill's home improvement store. I finally pull Jasper away. We get out and start walking to go get some lunch from one of our favorite places, Henry's Melting Pot Madness. Henry's has this amazing world-famous triple cheese, bacon bits, spicy 5-alarm chili that are just to die for. I'm drooling just thinking about it. But then, something strange happens. Some crazy guy from the street walks up to me and whispers something in my ear and quickly hands me a small piece of paper before then quickly running away. I think nothing of it at first and just stick it into my pocket and keep moving. There are always a few crazies out and about town. Then we head on down to the diner to go get some lunch, and I get their world-famous spicy 5-alarm chili and their all-American hamburger. Jasper gets the chicken strips, and as we finish up lunch, my brother keeps going on about our waiter and how hot she was. I'm like, "Okay, go ask her on a date then, stop telling me about it." I guess I moved too quickly or something because the small piece of paper fell on the ground. I looked at it, and there were some numbers written down. They didn't seem like regular numbers because they were spaced out like coordinates with dots in between. I was thinking that they had to be some sort of location. I go ahead and I punch them into my rose gold iPhone, and it's to some location that's out there in the woods. It's maybe a few hours walk, so I think to myself, cool, an adventure. I tell Jasper that we should go check it out. He says, I don't know, maybe. Then we realize that we're so busy thinking about lunch that we forgot to get the beer. We go back into town for the beer, and we run into that same crazy guy again. And he whispers something else in my ear, except this time, he tells me about a creature. He says it only comes out once every 200 years to feed on the town. I thought that was strange. That crazy wasn't my Uncle Jack, but they both talked about a scary creature. What was going on here? Sure, it was just two people in the town talking about a creature, but it was still two people in the same town who had no relation to each other talking about the same strange creature. Was it a coincidence? I had to find out. It started drizzling a little. I was wet, a little excited, and feeling anticipation of future events. At this point, we're heading back to Uncle Jack's house. The day is almost over, and Uncle Jack's already nursing his sweet moonshine in his room, so we turn in for the day. I want so badly to talk to him about the strange man and the coordinates, but I know that he wants his peace and quiet for the evening. Then I drift off to sleep. The next day, we wake up and see no sign of Uncle Jack. We make some eggs and bacon, scarf our food down, and work on the fort. Finishing the fort takes up most of the day. It's late in the evening at this point. I'm a little tired, and I'm sitting down just gazing, staring off into the distance, and I get this weird sensation. I swear I see some red eyes peering back at me, but was it really there? Was my mind playing tricks on me? I don't know what to think. Jasper already thinks that I'm off on a wild goose chase, so I can't really tell him that I saw the eyes. I know he wouldn't believe me. I glanced down at my watch. It was around 8:30 p.m. It was time for us to go back to my Uncle Jack's house to get some food, and then we go to sleep. At this point, we're so tired, we don't even take a shower. We just eat and go straight to bed. The next morning, we head back to town and eat breakfast at Henry's Melting Pot Madness. Jasper and I get out of the restaurant and run into that same crazy old man. He shuffles on past us, and I yell out that I think I saw the red eyes in the woods last night. The crazy old man stops, slowly turns toward us, and asks, "Are you sure you saw blood red eyes? Eyes like you've never seen before, or are you yanking my chain?" I say yes. He steps back a little, almost fearful, and says, "Well, you two should consider yourselves lucky that it didn't get you." I say yeah, I guess, to the crazy old man. I told him that we were thinking about going to the coordinates he had put on that paper to go see what was really out there. He says you must be very careful on your travels through the woods, and then he handed me some sort of strange crystal. The crazy old man said that you may need it to open a door. I say a door. He says yes, but it's really like a portal. The crystal has been passed down to me by my ancestors, and only closing that portal for good is the only way to get rid of the creature forever. Jasper said let's go, and I could see he's a little freaked out and interested in the adventure. Rolling my eyes, not today, I say. We got to get ready for this thing. We still got to get some supplies. I don't think we're going empty-handed to go face-to-face with this other-worldly creature. Remember, we can't tell Uncle Jack about this or he's going to try to stop us. Jasper thinks about what I just said and says I'm right. I say we'll have to go out there in a few days when the moon is just right this week. That's when the supposed creature should come out of its dwelling. I don't know why I said that out loud for some reason. I just had this feeling that it comes out only during a specific time. Jasper breaks my train of thought and says, "Oh yeah, you know what's crazy? I heard that people around town have been coming up missing. What's strange is all these places are close to the woods. That's weird, right?" I start to think, is the creature somehow making the people walk in and never come back out? Did the crazy old guy have anything to do with this, and what did he know? That's why we have to go into these woods, to see if we can find any of the missing townspeople. We still have a few days until the moon is blood red. That's when the creature should really start attacking the townspeople, or so says the crazy old town guy. We went to my Uncle Jack's house, and we were aghast. All of his stuff had been thrown around like a tornado had gone throughout the house. Jasper and I found a piece of paper my uncle had written something down on. It was different coordinates than what the crazy old guy in town had given to me. So I plug it into the GPS, and it's 3 hours south. Well, this is going to be a long journey. We pack, go to sleep, and head out in the morning. As we're walking through the forest, we begin to hear some strange buzzing noises. Jasper and I are a little drained from the sun beating down on us. We stop and take a break. Jasper leans back and falls down into a 7-foot hole. I cry out, "Jasper, are you hurt?" But I hear nothing. It seems like forever, but then I hear him respond, "Jessica, help me. I want to get out of here. Help, pull me out." I tell him, "Don't pass out. I'm getting something to pull you out with." I race around, find a long, sturdy branch, and begin to pull him out. He only had some scrapes. I think he was just being melodramatic. I pull out my first aid kit and bandage him up. We set back on our way. It starts to get late, and we set up camp for the night. Jasper and I go ahead and take shifts to stay up just in case we might see the creature. He takes the first shift. I drift off for a little while. Suddenly, I start to hear that buzzing noise again. As if under a trance, I slowly start walking that way, and there before my eyes was a portal. I was shocked at first, but then I saw my uncle come out of the portal. It was my uncle, but at the same time, it wasn't. He had some different hair color, like maybe someone had made a copy of him or something. I had broken a branch as I walked. It made a loud noise, and that thing that looked like my uncle looked over and started running toward the campsite. I start running too. I come back all drenched in sweat, and Jasper looks at me and asks, "Where the hell have you been?" Well, there was this buzzing noise, so I went and checked it out, and I saw Uncle Jack, but it wasn't him. Jasper just tells me, "Okay, Jessica, I believe you now. Try and go back to sleep." I tell him, "Are you serious? I can't go back to sleep after all that." So he says, "Okay, fine then, just stay here and don't wander off now, okay?" Then he goes back to his tent. I glance down at my tactical RMP 5000 watch. It's still 2 in the morning. Still a lot of time to maybe see the creature, I think to myself. Yet, once again, I start hearing that buzzing noise. I do my best to ignore it, but yet I don't know how Jasper is still asleep. He could sleep through a tornado, I think. Suddenly, a swarm of giant bees start attacking us. By now, Jasper's fully awake. We do the only thing we can and get in the river really fast to get the bees to stop chasing us. We get back to camp, dry our clothes out by the fire. We get back into our tents and just pass out from exhaustion. The next morning, we set out in the direction to our uncle's coordinates. As we're walking, Jasper tells me that he saw the red eyes last night, but he didn't want to worry me. I was like, "Come on, Jasper, you can't keep that stuff to yourself. You know we're hunting that thing, so please, when you see something, you need to say something. Okay, Jasper? You know we're not that far from Uncle's coordinates." Jasper says, "I know, but it would be better if we just went ahead and crossed the river." I say, "It would save us more time, but where are we going to get a raft at?" "Well, we gotta make one." So I say, "Okay, and let's start looking for some wood and stuff." We make the raft with some branches and some twine from our supplies. Getting across the river was a task in and of itself, but we were able to cross over. Now we've got to get through the thick forest. We still haven't seen much of this creature, but I would prefer to keep it that way. Just as I say that, something grabs what seems like my uncle from a great distance and flies away, and Jasper falls off the raft. As I try and chase after him, yelling his name, "Jasper, Jasper!" We know that the creature might be going to this cave, but where's Jasper? I can't stick around for too long. The river's getting cantankerous at this time. I start to head off, but the mosquitoes are pretty bad, so I go ahead and spray buzz off and hope that just keeps the bugs at bay. I go and check the map. I'm 30 clicks away from the coordinates. I have to climb a hill to get there. Now, I'm at a cave and I see some dead bodies laying there. I almost pass out from the rancid smell. I think they might be some of the missing townspeople that Rose the barkeep told us about the other day. I check their wallets. and I confirm that they are. Well, there's one problem. I don't have the right supplies for this cave. As I think that, I see what looks like Jasper coming out of the woods nearby. I don't know if he sees me. He leans against an oak tree and falls asleep. I realize I need to rest too, but I can't stop thinking about my conversation with Rose, the barkeep from a few days ago. She told me to come with her downstairs, and she showed me another piece of this crystal. I say, hey, it's like the one I've already got, and yes, Rose says, but it's something whenever you put them together. Just then, a strange noise emits from the other side of the cave. I focus on it for a little bit, but then I black out. I wake up a few hours later and see that it's Jasper looking scared and startled. I ask him what happened, and he tells me he doesn't know if he believes it himself, but he then says, I think I saw a portal. I saw Uncle Jack run out of it. I tried to get his attention, but he couldn't hear me. I ask him, are you sure? You're not yanking my chain, are you? He says, no, I'm dead serious, and then glances over and asks where I got my other piece of crystal from. I tell him, remember when we went to town the other day? I talked to Rose, the barkeep, and she gave me this. I say as I show him the unique glowing piece of the crystal. Rose told me about some ancient monster that her family has been protecting themselves against for generations, going all the way back to the 1600s. She told me that the creature had long, thin arms, razor-sharp fingernails, and a bony skeleton face with blood-red eyes. Rose thinks that this creature is what's causing the disappearances and wants it to go back to where it came from, once and for all. For some reason, she feels as if the two of us are special souls that share a similar resemblance to the people within their family stories. She's saying that the events taking place are very similar to the stories that were passed down for generations in her family. But I wonder, why us? What's so special about us? Jasper shrugs. But the truth is, we don't have time to wait and to philosophize. We're running against nature here, as we only have 2 days to find this creature. Jasper and I start to move to the entrance to the cave. He ties some rope to a boulder and places his hard hat with the light on it, and he descends 150 foot down and hits the bottom of the cave. Then, I drop the supplies down and enter the cave right behind him. I glance down at my crystal and notice they have this faint glow to them. I think it might be close by, I say. We walk for a few hours as we feel the wind somehow coming up and passing us. We get to a spot where we're forced to dive underwater to get past that next section of the cave. I say I'll go first, but there's a current that's pulling us forward. First, I put the supplies under, and then Jasper says, are you crazy putting the supplies first? I say, trust me, they'll be fine. We tied them all to the rope, so all we have to do is just pull them behind us when we go under. Okay, says Jasper. I won't take it all, but I will take half of the supplies, and you could take the other half. Well, I go first, and all is well. And then Jasper goes and gets his pelt caught. He has to cut it off, but he still manages to bring the supplies with him fully intact. I was beginning to worry you weren't going to make it, I say. I was about to go in after you, and then you popped up. And Jasper says, oh, your crystal necklace is glowing now. We waste no time and start to make a small fire. As we are laying by the fire, we eat some food, and I tell Jasper, hey, be quiet. Do you hear that, Jasper? Jasper says, that loud rumbling noise, what is that? Well, let's go and check it out. As we go down some of the narrow passages, Jasper says, look at those stalagmites, those things, they're huge. And it echoes off the cave wall. I say, do you hear that squeaking sound? He shouts, look out, a giant swarm of bats come rushing out of the tunnels up toward the surface. And I yell out rabies, which echoes off the cave wall. As we duck and cover our faces, we look down the hole and see red eyes down the dark tunnel. We see them coming closer, so we quickly choose the cave to the left. We're going down the cave and keep hearing this strange noise. We look up to find a portal open. We look around and find that other small door that the crazy guy was talking about back in town. I run over to the small door and start putting in the first crystal. Then the monster runs over and grabs me, but the necklace falls to the ground. Jasper starts yelling at the creature, but he just keeps walking away with me. I struggle, but I can't escape the monster's grasp. Jasper starts running toward us, and then our uncle comes out of nowhere and starts assaulting Jasper with his fists. Jasper is startled, but starts defending himself. He was able to get a good hit on the side of Uncle Jack's head. Uncle Jack changes his stance. He's not fighting anymore, but looks bewildered. "Where the heck am I?" Uncle Jack asks. Jasper tells him, "No time to explain, just follow me." Uncle Jack sees the necklace laying on the ground and picks it up. Jasper says the door to close all this mayhem is not too far, and then he sees that I'm knocked out. The monster tries to reopen the portal so he can take me with him, but he has to have the other crystal to fully go back to his planet. Uncle Jack and Jasper try to run after because I'm the only one that knows the secret to really closing it. They're walking down the dark tunnel with their headlamps on when Jasper looks down and finds another crystal just like the one that I had. He grabs it and it burns his hand. "Oh, what the hell?" Jasper says and quickly bandages up his hand while grabbing it with a cloth. "See, it's not burning you now, is it?" he says to himself. "No, I guess not, but it's still hot." "Well, hopefully we can get it back up there before the blood moon," Uncle Jack says. "You mean we have to track back up to the surface?" "Yep." "Son of a bitch," Jasper says. "Yeah, I know, kiddo," says Uncle Jack. As they're on their ascent back to the surface, they start to see some large cracks in the walls that were not there before. Then, all of a sudden, stuff starts falling off the top of the walls. Uncle says, "We had better start really running faster and faster." They're almost to the surface when all they have to do is climb the rope back up. Jasper gets a hold of the rope and starts heading up when the floor starts falling all around him. "Uncle," he says, "hurry up." Jasper starts going faster. He's about halfway when his uncle says he doesn't think he's going to make it, seeing as how the floor is falling all around him. He yells to Jasper, "Here, take my keys to the cabin and cars." Jasper says okay with tears falling down. His uncle gives one big throw and Jasper reaches out to grab them and then starts climbing back to the surface. As he gets there, he looks down one more time and sees the creature grab him and pull him back down into the darkness. Jasper yells, "You bastard!" and starts heading toward the graveyard. But before that, he goes over to the bar and looks for the barkeep. Someone said she was down in the cellar. Jasper heads down that way as she's putting some wine on the racks, and she says, "Jasper, what are you doing here? And where's your sister?" Jasper, trembling with tears in his eyes, said that the creature has Jessica and I need your help, please. I don't know who else to turn to right now. Everyone else will think I'm crazy. Rose, the barkeep, says, "Okay, I'll help, but first you've got to calm down and take the shot with me." She pulled some cobwebbed bottle from this old wooden box and pulls out the dark red-looking liquid. Jasper asks her, "What is that?" Rose says, "Don't worry about it, just drink with me." He says okay and takes the shot, starts to feel funny and then passes out. He wakes up a few hours later and finds himself at the cemetery. Rose is standing there too. She sees that Jasper's awake and tells him to stay quiet. It's almost midnight. Look up at the sky, the moon, it's almost fully blood red. Out of nowhere, this creature appears again. It has Jasper's sister, and wait, who is that? It's Uncle Jack. To Jasper's surprise, his uncle is still alive. Jasper's taken aback. They're by this strange-looking tombstone. Rose, the barkeep, takes quick action and says, "We've got to try and get over there and put our 2 remaining crystals over there into the tombstone." As we're shuffling down the rows of the tombstones, Rose tells Jasper to run over with the 2 crystals and place them there. He's the only one who can. He runs over and places crystals into the tombstone, and a big surge of energy comes out of nowhere and the portal appears. The strange creature is about to go through the portal, and I start to shuffle away. But for some reason, Uncle Jack grabs me and jumps into the portal. Jasper tries to reach for my arm, but it's too late. He asks the barkeep what he should do now. How can he get her back? Rose says that once the portal closes and the crystals unite, that's the end of the energy source. Jasper's eyes swell up with tears. Jessica and Uncle are gone for good, it seems. Hey there, friends. I hope you enjoyed this fantastic story titled Deep in the Ozarks by HEDPE22. This story was submitted directly to me on my subreddit, which you can actually find the link to down below in the Linktree link. It is down there. I do have a subreddit, and I will take stories on there if you have them. You can also submit them directly to me through the Submit Your Story Directly to Me link. So, however you want to do it. Well, friends, if you did like this story and would like content that's like this, or so vastly different it's like comparing toothbrushes to TVs, please consider joining the Nevermore. To join the Nevermore, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button and the bell icon next to it, and that makes you part of the Nevermore. You can do things to support the growth of the Nevermore, such as following me on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, or supporting me through Patreon and Coffee. All optional, all appreciated. That said, my friends, I hope you are having a great day. I'm trying to have a good day. I'm going to keep it that way. Alright, guys. Much love, and we'll see you on the next video. But until then, sleep well.